Hello, everyone, and welcome to Riffin with HB. We talk about old school and underrated bands, and we try to bring them to the masses. Today, we are talking about three different bands. I'm really going to focus around Soundgarden, but we're definitely going to focus on Audioslave and Temple of the Dog as well. We got a couple of different years here where Soundgarden is in 84, so we're in the 80s, the 90s, and the early thousands. So Soundgarden in 84, Temple of the Dog in 90. Audioslave was formed in 2001, so it's pretty cool. Stretches a couple of generations. And Chris Cornell is the sound of a generation. If you know it, you know it. One of my favorite fucking rock and roll bands. I'm excited to cover this band today. We got a lot to cover. So it's going to be another long episode. Buckle up, grab some snacks. But we're also going to be talking about the poetry of music. We're going to be talking about the first poem ever written, the first song ever. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of where poems and songs actually meet together. I'm excited to talk about this. Let's just go ahead and start from the very beginning here with Soundgarden. Again, we're in 1984. Let me go ahead and just play this clip real fast. I'm waiting on this to load up. This is a clip right here from Chris Cornell.
What do you want to reach with this noise? Do you want to spread aggression?
No, not really. Just want to make some sounds that maybe people might not hear the rest of the day.
What is so attractive to making this sound?
It's fun. It's like a little kid with a really big toy.
Okay, it's fun, but it's so loud.
Are you saying you don't like it?
Yeah, well, I like it.
No, come on. Don't. He's lying to you people. He's lying.
Well, no. I like some parts of it, but it's so loud all over. It's constantly loud.
I know. Can you believe it?
How difficult is it to put lyrics in a song like this?
It's easy. I mean, it's no different than putting lyrics over a soft song, really. You just take the mood of the music and write whatever inspires you first.
I mean, God fucking bless and God rest Chris Cornell, man. Different, unique mind. Somebody super kind and humble, but straight to the point. He thought it was pretty hilarious. That guy was like ragging on the music, but yeah, he was there to, spectate on it. It's pretty cool. Sometimes it's funny, like how you handle a situation like that, like where you like maybe what your ego would want to get involved and you would want to get upset. It's like nice to be able to handle it respectfully and humble like that. It's fucking something that I admire, especially in the rock and roll community. It's very rare because a lot of times you got people who are fucking super angsty and stuff like that. Not that Chris Cornell wasn't necessarily, but it's a prime example of who he was in the moment. I mean, who are you whenever you're being interviewed in front of 100,000 people or whatever it is, right? It's a unique thing. Soundgarden in 1984, Seattle, Washington. Of course, this is where the grunge era comes from. Nirvana, a lot of different grunge bands come out of the Seattle area. This is kind of iconic for, long hair, fun little t-shirts, rock and roll, right? But it was formed by the singer and drummer Chris Cornell, lead guitarist Kim Diley. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but and bassist Hiro Yamamoto, and Scott Sundisk was brought in to play drums in '85, so that Chris Cornell could focus solely on the vocals. And then he was replaced by Matt Cameron in '86. Yamamoto left the band in '89. And then Soundgarden disbanded in 97 rather, and they reformed in 2010 following Chris Cornell's death in 2017. They declared that Soundgarden had disbanded again in October of 2018. So that's kind of the quick little run through of Soundgarden. And again, I could go on and on. Along Seattle contemporaries such as Alice Chain, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Sub Pop record label. If this means anything to you, you understand what I'm saying. If not, we're just going to go ahead and skip over it real fast. Billboard charts, hits, and top selling albums, and Black Hole Sun, and all this different stuff, right? We're going to break this. I'm not skipping over this on purpose because we're going to get back to this. I'm just trying to rush through the statistics of it. Also, we can just talk about the lyrics in general. But let's go ahead and go back to Temple of the Dog because this is our next time period. Temple of the Dog, this was in 1990, also in Seattle, Washington. And it's a super band, or super group, however you want to say it, with the Chris Cornell. It was a tribute to his late friend, the late Andrew Wood, lead singer of the band, Malfunction and Mother Love Bone. Great fucking bands as well too. And the lineup included Stone Gossard on rhythm guitar, Jeff Ament on bass guitar, both ex-members of Mother Love Bone, and future members of Pearl Jam, Mike McCready, later Pearl Jam, on guitar, and Matt Cameron and Soundgarden, and later Pearl Jam on drums. Eddie Vedder appeared as a guest to provide some lead and backing vocals, and later became the lead vocalist of Pearl Jam. That's how it all started. It's the history of it. To me as a kid, this shit was super intriguing. This is what got me into fucking music, what kindled my love for music deeply. Like hearing this and going, wow, that's how they started. Wow. And we get Pearl Jam from Temple of the Dog? That's crazy. And it's a band that you hear, and as a kid, you might, especially as a young kid, but even as an adult, you're like, wow, that's the same band, right? Like, no, it's a totally different band. Even though it's the same vibe because it's the same singer, right? Essentially. But anyway. Pearl Jam's debut album 10 was released 4 months after the Temple of the Dog's only studio album. So that's how close we are, and that's how influenced we are right there. Bam, bam, from that time period. This is what you get. I've talked about this a lot on the show. These are the influences that you get from here to here. Now, keep in mind what I'm saying right here, because this is going to matter later on the show when I'm talking about the first song that ever was written, or the first poem that was ever written, the influence and how it goes along, right? So you start off with bands like Soundgarden, right? And they're fucking rocking out doing their thing. And then later on, they make this super band called Temple of the Dog. And then the singer becomes the fucking singer of Pearl Jam. It's kind of the same concept with Nirvana, right? You got Dave Grohl, who was the drummer for Nirvana. He goes on to create his own band, the Foo Fighters. Tons of bands like this would do their own thing. Break off. And even they had a super group called the Old with pardon my name, or pardon me for forgetting his name, but the guy from Queens of the Stone Age, Josh. And I forget who the other guy is, even, to be honest with you, the drummer. But he's from a rock band as well. But check them out; they're really super great. And then we'll go one more here. Bear with me just a minute. We're going to go one more. We're going to go to Audioslave. We're also going to read some Audioslave lyrics here in a minute as well. So now we're in 2001. And again, we went from the 80s in 84. We went to 1990, Temple of the Dog. And then we jump on to 2001 with Audioslave. And to me, this is why guys can start to see my mind as a kid, because I grew up I was born in 97. So in 2001, I was already listening to Soundgarden all over the radio from a young kid, being exposed to it all the time and bobbing my head to it, loving it, right? And then as 2001 comes around, I'm like, wow, this is just that same guy. In my head, I don't know names of bands, or I don't know that Chris Cornell's been around since 84. I'm just thinking like this music's just on the radio. It came out maybe yesterday or whatever, and it's all the same stuff. It's all correlated. Pardon me for the noise. But yeah, that was kind of my mindset, right? Even though it's Audioslave, it's really the same shit. It's like the same influence from that band to this band, right? And Tom Morello, let's not even get started on that. Rage Against the Machine, super fucking one of my favorite guitarists because again, it goes what I was talking about with Tool, right? Like you could be technical, be good, but if you have style and flair, it makes the fucking difference. And when Chris Cornell gets on the mic and you hear Soundgarden or Audioslave come in on the guitar, it has the power and the drive, and that's what makes them fucking unique. That's what makes them a grunge band, a rock and roll band, and that's what gives them the power. But what's fucking unique about it is, like I said, the lyrics could be anything. You could be singing about anything, but he makes it poetry. It's poems that he's taken and putting this fucking energy into it and really emphasizing what he means. But people do this all the time with songs. They take a song and they'll dumb it down and make it a slow song, or there's tons of songs that are being created now that were old hip hop songs and are being made into like 20s blues songs and things like that. Really cool. I like the concept of this. And Audioslave, Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog has a pretty sound, right? It was kind of a little short-lived thing, and it's experimental for that reason. But Soundgarden and Audioslave, they have tons of different songs that vary in different vibes. We're going to talk a little bit about that with Black Hole Sun, how he wrote the song in 15 minutes, how it came to him, and about how he was kind of afraid that his band wouldn't really necessarily vibe with the idea of the song. And he didn't think it would fit in to be a Soundgarden song, right? Fucking ended up being one of the greatest songs they have. And it's poetry, the way the song lyrics are. And for people who are really interested in writing, and not everybody here is going to be interested in writing music, but it's something I like to talk about because I try to inspire people that like a new perspective on how to write music. That's something really important to remember, that if you write a poem and it means something from how you feel, you could put lyrics or put music to it and make the flow really anything, right? I always use the example of "Hey Ya" by Outkast. You guys know this song, and in that song, the lyrics are talking about like negative kind of down things, right? Things that are tough to deal with in life, about heavy emotions. But the song is really upbeat. Like people dance at it at the clubs and they're not really thinking about it. That's the uniqueness of music to me. It's like being able to sneak that message in there for people who are really fucking listening. Because not everybody's going to want to get that deep with lyrics, and that's cool. I like that too. But some people like really want to get deep with it, and that really resonates with me. I like whenever it's like, yeah, I can just listen to Soundgarden, throw it on the radio, and just like be doing whatever I'm doing. But also can put that shit on while I'm driving or sitting there thinking or whatever, listening and paying attention. Like, wow, that's some deep shit, dude. How the fuck did you come up with that? It really inspires me when really people say something that you feel in your heart and they just say it. It's like, wow, it was right here the whole time. I could have did that. Well, it's like that inspires you to do it. You're like, I should be able to do it. Just take this unique concept and say it. And I relate that to the way you write stories or movies. Usually books are way longer and movies are way longer than a song. So you have to get what you're going to fucking say out in 2 or 3 minutes, be done with it, really hit people impactfully. And that's important to do with music. Let's get into a couple other things here. I have some quotes from Chris Cornell that I'm going to read. And going back to that video we were watching just a minute ago on Chris Cornell, that speaks to his energy about how he felt about the music. He's like, that's just what I'm here to do, is just play and be free. It's like a kid. And what a crazy experience, what a crazy life to be able to do something like that. It just feels like playing on a playground and do whatever you love and be free with it. And doing that gives you total creative freedom, right? It's something we're going to be covering here on Saturday, fast forward, about the music industry, about how they try to control you. And the more they try to control an artist, the less they get what they want. Seems ironic, I know, but if you try to control an artist and force them to do something that they're not doing, it's like, why did you fall in love with them in the first place? It's because they were just free to do what they wanted to do. So give them the house and the materials, the paintbrush, the art, the easel, to do that art, and leave them alone. Just don't affect them. If you go up and you're like, I think you need to add a little bit more yellow to that painting, you're not going to get the same thing that you hired this person for to give them the opportunity. That's your relationship. What it should be with a record label, a record company. If somebody has a studio and you're using their equipment and stuff like that, it should be your trade off. Hey man, we're gonna come in here. We're gonna kind of blow this studio up a little bit because we're fucking Soundgarden, mind you. We can write hits, but you're gonna let us alone and you're gonna let us do our thing. And amongst that, you can handle fucking marketing and touring and all that shit, right? You can take your cut. Who cares? If it's fair, if it's what you're not killing anybody, which again is a whole nother story. We'll get into all that shit Saturday. But it's really important to remember about the creative freedom that you can have as an artist and you should be able to have as an artist. And we're gonna express that here in just a second with Chris Cornell. Let me read a couple quotes and I'll play them on the screen for you guys. Actually, it might not even pull up all the way. Let's see here. Yep, there we go. Do that quite all the way. It says here, if I don't believe the sun will rise, stand alone and greet the coming night and the last remaining light. That's Chris Cornell. We have another one right here. These are all his quotes. I'm not a lyric writer to make statements. What I enjoy doing is making paintings with lyrics, creating colorful images. I think that's more what entertainment and music should be. Very much what we were just speaking about. Oh, pull it up a little better here. Being free to create that painting.
Noise? Do you want to spread aggression?
Oops. Here's another one right here. I think it's important for fans to know that, but if I'm doing something that inspires me musically, then I will think it will inspire someone else too. And that's what music should be able to do. It should be able to fit in somebody. That painting should be worth 1,000 words. And you're like, I don't know why I relate to that. And I guarantee you it's not the same way that person who wrote or drew that painting relates to it, or wrote that song relates to it. But it's what makes art beautiful. It's what makes songs beautiful. It's like, wow, somehow I relate to that, even though it's not something that I said or wrote. That's what really good songs do. Let's play one more here. Cheers, thank y'all for being here. Y'all hit the like. Got a lot more to go. Y'all buckle up. It says here, if I write a song and put it out there, it's not mine anymore. It takes on a life of its own. And when you listen to it, it becomes your song. And over the courses of generation, those meanings will change. I might have created it, but I have no control over how it evolves. Exactly right. And that's what the beauty of art is. You put it out there and it's not really under your control anymore. And if you're really passionate about it, I always talk about it like this because I've created this Zeta mushroom drink. And when you create something that you really fucking love and you're really passionate about, it's like having a kid. You're the one who made it and created it, but it has a life of its own and it does what it wants to at that point. All you can do is like put the best intentions into your songs or to in your product or whatever you're doing in your life and do your best and send it on its way, and you'll get more the reward than you can ever imagine. And sometimes it's not monetary reward, or sometimes it's not fame reward, or the things that we crave with our ego, but it's the things that we need. And that's fucking beautiful right here. It says, over the course of generations, those meanings will change. And I might have created it, but I have no control over how it evolves. So I was just mentioning, you create it, but how you relate to it, how other people relate to it is up to them. And how other people are impacted by it, right? This is Temple of the Dog right here, by the way. You guys should have pulled them up as I was speaking about them. This is the voice for Temple of the Dog. We'll go back to Soundgarden here in a minute. These are the boys from Audioslave. Tom Morello, one of my favorite fucking guitarists right there in the middle right. All right. Let's read a couple quotes from Chris Cornell and some song lyrics and stuff like that to kind of get you into a feel for what I'm talking about with poetry of music. And then we'll get into the first poem ever made and the first song ever made. So it's really cool shit. Here's the lyrics from I Am the Highway. Pearls and swine, bereft of me. Long and weary my road has been. I was lost in the cities, alone in the hills. No sorrow, pity for leaving, I feel. I am not your rolling wheels. I am the highway. I am not your carpet ride. I am the sky. Friends and liars don't wait for me because I'll get on by myself. I put millions of miles under my heels and still too close to you, I feel. I am not your rolling wheels. I am the highway. I am not your carpet ride. I am the sky. I am not your blowing wind. I am the highway. I am not your lightning. I am your autumn moon. I am not the night. Or sorry, I am the night. The night. So you guys know that song. And if you just read it like that instead of hearing it as a song, you hear it as a song, you get a certain emotion because you've been like exposed to it so many times. You have this feeling to it. But I mentioned this with Tool, right? You've heard it and been exposed to it, but stop and really analyze and listen to it and look at it a brand new perspective. And when you do that, it's like, wow, that's fucking poetry. Pearls and swine bereft of me. Long and weary my road has been. I was lost in the cities, alone in the hill. No sorrow for pity for leaving I feel. It's a poem, a hymn, if you will. And that is what we're going to talk about, where poems actually started to form into music, right? We're even going to talk a little bit about how music probably happened before speech, just making sounds and harmonizing and things like that, and how our brains are even developed to have this. To hear some lyrics from Exploder by Soundgarden. I met a man locked away for things he hadn't done. Innocence on bail, he'll never feel sun. Again on his face, or roses in his hands. But when he smiled at me, I could understand. If you feel free, you'll never see the walls. If your head is clear, you'll never free fall. And if you're right, you'll never fear the wrong. If your head is high, you'll never fear it all. There was a daughter of a man who took his life, too young. She swore he'd never do the same. Then she went and did what he had done. A boy who's gone insane heard voices in his head. No one knows what they say. Now his mother's dead. If you're free, you'll never see the walls. If your head is clear, you'll never you'll never free fall. If you're right, you'll never fear the wrong. And if your head is high, you'll never fear it all. There was a man who had a face. It looked a lot like me. I saw him in the mirror, and I fought him in the street. Then when he turned away, I shot him in the head, and then I came to realize I had killed myself. If you're free, you'll never see the walls. And if your head is clear, you'll never free fall. If you're right, you'll never fear the wrong. And if your head is high, you'll if your head is high, you'll never fear. Fucking good shit, dude. Poetry, bro. Talks about, it does what a good story or song or anything like that does to people. It relates, it puts imagery in your head, it tells a story. It's like, even if that's not something that's ever happened to you, you're like, wow, it's like watching an old Western. Even if it's not a thing that happened to you, it's still intriguing, entertaining to other people, right? Sometimes if it has happened to you, you're like, wow, that's a story exactly what happened to me. This is something very true to what we speak about a lot, about holding a mirror up to people, things that we don't like, people that we don't like. There was a man who had a face that looked a lot like me. I saw him in the mirror and fought him in the street. And then he turned away and I shot him in the head. And then I came to realize I'd killed myself. Whenever we hate people or hate things, we're just like hating things that are inside of us. And it's fucking pretty cool Buddhist or Hindu mentality, right? Let's read a couple more here. I hope you guys like this shit. This is something I've been really waiting on to cover. Poetry and music. This is something that I'm really passionate about as far as music is, like how music started and what it really means as far as like evolution and things like that. This is from Fell on Black Days by Soundgarden. Whatsoever and by the way, put fucking whatever whatever quotes that you love by Chris Cornell, Audioslave, Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog. I'll put some stuff in there that you like. Whatsoever I feared has come to life, and whatsoever I fought off became my life. And just when every day seemed to greet me with a smile, sunspots have faded, now I'm doing time. Because I fell on black days. And whomsoever I've cured, now I've sickened. And whomsoever I've cradled, I put you down. I'm a searchlight soul, they say, but I can't see it in the night. I'm only faking when I get it right. Because I fell on black days. How would I know that this could be my fate? That this could be my fate? So what you wanted to see good has made you blind, and what you wanted to be yours has made it mine. So don't you lock up something that you wanted to see fly. Hands are for shaking, no, not tying. I sure don't mind a change, 'cause I fell on black days. How would I know that this could be my fate? Fucking poetry, bro. Fucking poetry. And if you sit there and you're like, if you wrote this poem and you turned it into what the song Black Days is with the fucking guitar riff, you could see easily how that transitions. And yeah, it might not work for everyone. Sometimes that's not how people write songs. And I don't always write songs that way, right? I would say I mostly don't write songs that way. But it gives people who like are trying to be creative a whole nother avenue of how to write fucking music. I'm going to take this poem that I have. I've been writing poems since I was in high school. I even have some old poems from back when I was in high school. I bet you I could learn 4 or 5 chords on a guitar and just riff to that shit. It's tons of bands like Soundgarden and Nirvana, STP, Alice in Chains, Green Day. They're just riffing on these chords, right? Making the shit sound nice. And you could do that with your poems. Some people's favorite quotes here. Down in a hole, Jesus tries to crack a smile beneath another shovel load. I just looked in the mirror and things aren't looking so good. I'm looking California, I'm feeling Minnesota. That's one of my favorite fucking lyrics from Soundgarden. One of my favorite songs, dude. That shit goes hard. But if somebody left you out on a ledge, if somebody pushed you over the edge, if somebody loved you and left you for dead, you got to hold on to your time till you break through to through these times of trouble. Fucking good shit. Here's another one. The day I tried to live, I stole 1,000 beggars' change and gave it to the rich. The day I tried to live, I wallowed in the blood and mud with all the other pigs. I learned that I was a liar. Very good shit, dude. Talks about being hypocrites, about all humans having hypocritical tendencies. Fucking super neat. All again, like common things that we can all fucking relate to one way or the other, whether we experience it or whether we see it or whether it happens in us, around us, whatever, right? Here's a really fucking cool one. This was from 4th of July. Shower in the dark day, clean the sparks, diving down, cool in the waterway where the baptized drown. Naked in the cold sun, breathing life like fire. I thought I was the only one, but that was just a lie. Pale in the flare light, the scared light cracks and disappears, and leads to the scorched ones here. And everywhere no one cares, the fire is spreading, and no one wants to speak about it. Now I'm in control. Now I'm in the fallout. Once asleep, but now I stand, and I still remember your sweet everything. Light a Roman candle and hold it in your hand. So it speaks for itself. It's poetry, dude. Close your eyes and bow your head. I need a little sympathy, because fear is strong and loves for everyone who isn't me. Kill your health and kill yourself and kill everyone you love. And if you live, you can fall to pieces and suffer with my ghost. One of the best fucking Chris Cornell songs. But you slow it down and you read it like that, you're like, oh, that is deep, dude. Deep shit. It's a different way to analyze music and look at it. That's really fucking cool to me. Not sure how you guys feel about it. Let's see if you guys got something in the comments here. Drop some of your favorite quotes in here. Yeah, rock from that period definitely has it, and we're gonna be getting into some of these bands. Can I do Janis Joplin one day? Yeah, I definitely can. I can actually shove that in. But here in the next couple weeks, we're going to be covering a bunch of these 90 bands. Let me write this down real fast so I don't forget. Yeah, we definitely can cover Janis Joplin. That'd be fucking really dope. I like try to get females in the mix too, because there's so many fucking badass dude rock bands, but it's not as many rock chicks out there. So that's a really great one we should do. Cheers, man. Yeah, you can always come back and listen to it, Sammy. Definitely should. Cheers, everyone. Soundgarden, yep. Yeah, let's get into it. You guys are gonna fucking like this shit. We're just getting started here. So now that we've kind of talked about some of his quotes and his ideas, he puts you in the mind of Chris Cornell, how he thinks about the music industry and influencing people and the words that comes out of his mouth and the songs that he writes. Now let's put you in his mind about how his songwriting process works. Chris Cornell wrote the Soundgarden hit Black Hole Sun in about 15 minutes while driving home from the studio. He came up with the idea after mishearing a news anchor on TV and thinking they said "Black Hole Sun." The song's interpretation and creation came together in a few quick steps. This is how it happened. This is what we talk about, the idea of the flow of consciousness. The Akashic records, there's different, put whatever you want to it. It's like something that feels like somebody else wrote that song for you and gave it to you. It's the inspiration that comes behind it. The inspiration, speaking of that, Cornell misheard the news anchor's phrase, but thought it would be an amazing song title. So he spent the 30 to 40-minute drive from Seattle to Woodland formulating the entire arrangement, melodies, and the guitar solo in his head so he wouldn't forget them. And once home, he whistled the ideas into a dictaphone. This was a recorder. He actually admitted that he never even went back to look at the recording. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, he just had it in his head. It was an idea that literally came to him. The lyrics were written as a stream of consciousness. Here it is, playing with the words and surreal imagery rather than following a strict narrative. And it's the freedom of writing a music. It doesn't have to follow a strict narrative. It can be free. Cornell originally thought that his bandmates wouldn't like the track. This is what I was speaking about, but brought it to practice anyway, and the band ended up loving it, of course. And it went to become one of his defining hits of the 90s. I tend to do this, but I also really hate this in other artists. It's something that I do myself, though. Whenever you write a song, you're like, I'm not sure if people will like this. I'm not sure if people will like this. And then you show them, you're like, I really like that. It's like, wow, that's unique. I didn't know that. Because again, you're not writing songs for people, but it is unique to see what people think about it and how they relate to it. Like he was saying, it's like unique how it influences generations of people. And he became the voice of a fucking generation for sure. And then grunge in the 80s in the 80s and 90s. Even in the early 2000s. So let's go to the poetry of music now. We're swapping lanes a little bit here, right? The first absolute poem ever written is lost to prehistory as early poetry was passed down orally. However, the oldest surviving recorded poem is the Epic of Gilgamesh. So basically what they're saying is the first poem ever written or ever made, it's been lost to history, right? There's so many things that have been lost to history. I mean, think about how long we've been human beings. I mean, long civilizations have come and gone and lived, risen and fall. So what we do know is that the oldest surviving recorded poem ever written is the Epic of Gilgamesh. Maybe you guys have heard about this. It's kind of something that doesn't really relate to music necessarily, but it's something that more that we would talk about Mystic Journeys rather than Riffin. But it is cool because it's the first poem ever written. It's a Mesopotamian tale originating in somewhere around the 3rd millennium BC. So the standard Babylonian version of the Epic of Gilgamesh spans, and bear with me, this is a little bit schooly here, but I'm going to get somewhere with this. The version of Epic of Gilgamesh spans about 3,000 lines across 12 clay tablets, totaling about 3,800 words. I can actually show you guys here what the Epic of Gilgamesh looks like on the screen. Let's see. Here we are. Perfect. So this is the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is what it looks like. It's a stone tablet. It's been chiseled. It's ancient, right? So in the 3rd millennia, about 3,000 lines across of these things. There's 12 of these clay tablets totaling about 3,800 words. And print, the epic totals or typically fills about 100 to 130 pages whenever it's translated. And it's about 2.5 hours of reading time. The structure can vary depending on which translation and things like that, right? Because it has to be translated from one version to the next to be able to understand it. So it's pretty cool. Well, the most famous and complete compilation standardized by the scribe Sin Lik Nin, it comprises about 3,000 lines divided into 12 tablets. And the gold standard, the English translation, runs about 128 pages for the main text and includes comprehensive historical background. Older, shorter poems about the king's adventure, which survive only as fragmented versions rather than a single unified epic. Then it says over here that the first poems were sung or chanted from memory, making it impossible to name a definitive first. However, history's earliest recorded sung poems and hymns This is where the transition comes from poems to hymns to music. They come from ancient Mesopotamia. So this is where, as we know it, poems and hymns and quote unquote music, what would become music anyway, comes from ancient Mesopotamia, where poetry and music were inherently linked. Hymns of the Ukundundwa. I'm gonna butcher this because this is a totally different language, but the hymns of Enhudunwa. It's Enheduanna. If you guys want to look this up, but it's the world's first authored poems written by the Sumerian high priestess Enhudwana, or I guess is how you would pronounce it. The connection of the song, these hymns are to the goddess Inanna, were designed to be chanted or sung during religious rituals, solidifying her status as the first named poet in history. So these are how songs actually became about. They will, as we know it, right? They were religious and they were sung to be prayers to the gods. I believe in this instance it's about fertility, but I will get to that here in just a second. But this is from 2000 BCE. The love song of Shu Xin is the world's oldest love poem, discovered on the Mesopotamian cuneiform tablets. If you guys are familiar, this is a whole, again, ancient tablets that they try to decipher and figure out what they mean. Cuneiform, the Epic of Gilgamesh, all these things, right? Scholars widely agree that this piece was not just spoken, but it was used as a sacred ritual song, and it was sung by the bride and her king during sacred marriage ceremonies. And here it says the Epic of Gilgamesh, circa 2100 to 1200 BCE, is the earliest epic poem in human history. Before it was written down, it was an oral tradition, like we talked about, passed down and sung by traveling bards, accompanied by lutes, like the three-stringed gishgudi. I guess that's a string instrument. I'm not even familiar with that. It's cool. Learn some shit here together, guys. Cool. The earliest recorded English song is from circa 1250 CE. And if you're looking for the earliest poem with the musical notion and how to prove it was sung, this 13th century round welcomes the arrival of the spring and remains one of the oldest recorded songs in the English language. The oldest noted song, the Hurrying Hymn, was discovered archaeologists unearthed it in 1950, in the 1950s, and from the ruins of an ancient royal palace of Urgut in modern-day Syria, and it was written down in cuneiform script on clay tablets. The bottom half of the tablet contains code-like tuning instructions for a 9-stringed lyre and specific music intervals. It actually shows how to play the instrument. And this has allowed modern archaeomusicologists to archaeomusicologists. Damn, that's a fucking job I gotta get into. Archaeomusicologists to reconstruct and play the melody, which you guys can actually find online. I recommend to go check this shit out. Just YouTube. The oldest song, Hurrying Hymn number 6. And it's a religious prayer dedicated to Nicala and the hurrying goddess of orchids and fertility, and likely sung by women praying to conceive a child. So that's how this song happens. They're just trying to pray to a god to see if they can have a kid in 1400. Pretty cool. Now let's switch. We talked about the first, I don't want to spend too long. This is a little bit of a history lesson. So we talked about where music probably transitioned into what it is today. Of course, we don't know the first, but we know where it kind of started to transition from poems, people writing their feelings and their emotions structuredly, to making it more of a sung thing. It could be a poem or song or spoken into a certain way and then turned into music. Obviously, you guys know about poetry slams. So that's kind of where that comes from. It's like spoken in a rhythm like this, but even though it's just a poem. So it's really cool how it can be so different. But now let's switch lanes here. We're going to talk about the brain and music and where it evolved from, right? Probably way back before any poem was ever written. His human musicality is a complex mosaic of ancient neurological systems rather than a single brain region, meaning that It probably has to do with the way that the brain interacts with each other more than just a certain part right here has to do with music. Rather than being a byproduct of language, it's rooted in biology. So you would think that it has something to do with we created language, therefore we created music, but more than likely we created music first. And then here's some of the evidence that helps to support this. Evolutionarily, music served as a crucial survival mechanism by acting as a social harmonizer, releasing neurochemicals that promoted empathy, cooperation, and group cohesion. These are some of the things we'll talk about here. Unlike language, which relies heavy on a specific areas of the brain in the left hemisphere, such as the Broca's and Wernicke's areas, music engages widely distributed networks across both hemispheres. Temporal lobes process pitch, melody, and harmony. Motor cortex and cerebellum, cerebellum, sorry, drive these parts of the brain. The cortex and the cerebellum drive rhythmic entertainment, and whenever you tap your foot or dance and synchronize with your movements with the audio input, this is where it's coming from, your motor cortex and your cerebellum. This is whenever you snap your fingers, stomp your feet, tap your steering wheel, your leg, whenever you're listening to music, this is where it comes from. The limbic system and the prefrontal cortex are responsible for the emotional depth and the identity formation connected to music, the whole thing we do on the show. So if you have a strong limbic system and prefrontal cortex, this is where you're going to be at with me. It's flooding the brain with dopamine, the reward chemical, whenever you recognize musical patterns or you're recognizing different bands and how they have different styles and all this stuff, right? It's pretty cool. Um, lost my space. Hold on, sorry guys. All right. Music as a harmonizer. Scientists suggest that musicality, the capacity to process pitch, rhythm, and emotion, predates spoken language. Early hominins used primitive. Speaking with my hands over here. Early hominids used primitive musicality, vocalization, drumming, and synchronized movement as an evolutionary tool for a social niche construction. They're labeling it here. Social bonding. Prehistoric tribal rituals, singing, and dancing together release neurochemicals like oxytocin and endorphins. This is why when you listen to music, it makes you feel good, makes you feel a certain way, why you attach certain feelings to certain songs. And this bonding groups together, making them more cooperative for hunting, foraging, and survival, oddly enough. Not oddly enough, I guess, but interestingly enough. The human brain evolved to recognize pattern prediction and provide a neurological reward or dopamine for accurately anticipating the flow of a song. If you guys have a music mind, you know this is true. You're like in time to anticipation the switch of a song, and you might hear a song one time and be like, "Oh, I think I know this chorus already." It's because you have this pattern recognition, and so, again, it comes from a certain part of your brain, the way your brain works. Not everyone has this. It's unique. All right, this is called the Baldwin effect. Over generations, our ancestors' cultural creation of music began to alter our biological DNA, handwriting us to become better rhythmic processing and timekeeping. It's why overall, and today, people have more rhythm way than they did, 2,000 years ago or whatever, right? And maybe that's not even enough time. Maybe I'm just generalizing here, but maybe it takes longer than that. But it just proves a point. All right. The nucleus accumbens and the amygdala, and these structures of the brain from the core of the reward network, and they release dopamine and oxytocin as well whenever the music climax matches or subtly subverts our structural expectations. There's tons of songs that do this, and we talk about this a lot on Riffin with HB. I'll use a prime example really quick. One that you'll know is Black Submarine by the Black Keys. Comes in, it's really soft and smooth, and then the song really, bam, turns around and he comes in with the guitar chord really hard, and the whole vibe of the song changed. tons of songs like that that have that same idea. So if those are parts of songs that really intrigue you, maybe it's a lot of EDM does this, where it's totally switches from the sound that you'll think that you're anticipating. It comes from your accumbens and your amygdala, your nucleus accumbens and your amygdala. So here's some evolutionary theories on why we're musical. Scientists generally split into two camps regarding why humans evolved as a musical brain. One view, popularized by cognitive scientist Steven Pinker, argues that music is an auditory cheesecake, a beautiful byproduct of the other evolved function like language and motor control. However, a growing consensus of evolutionary biologists and neuroscientists view music as a critical direct adaptation. The social bonding is part of it right here. It says the social bonding and cohesion theory. Before spoken language existed, early human groups needed a way to signal trust, safety, and unity. And music does all three of those things. Here's why. The mislanguage processor is researchers like Stephen Brown suggest that language and music split from a common ancestral vocal system termed mislanguage. And this system conveyed emotional intent long before it conveyed literal meanings. Wow, interesting. So making music together served as a loud defense mechanism or correlation signaling. A group singing and drumming in perfect synchronicity signaled to predators and rival groups that they were highly coordinated, precision, strong, and unified. And whether you like it or whether you don't, our history of our world has been built on people and tribes and war and things like that playing music. Even just to get people together around the fires and stuff after kills or for ceremonies, again, preaching to gods and stuff like that. Whether you believe it or not, it's how our history has built what music is today. It's super fucking interesting. But group two says it's group selection and the social glue, quote unquote, in evolutionary biology. Groups that cooperate survive better than groups that splinter. So if you can play in a band, and we talk about this on Riffin with HP, it's cool how this correlates. You know, if think about pick 5 fucking people that you know and try to get them together in a band, get them to all get their own time, get them to cooperate and play the music without changing the style of the band. But you know, everybody has to get along, they have to match up, and all these things. It's a hard thing to do. So what being able to play music together shows that you have some capability of being able to get along reasonably with human beings, which is super important. It's already hard enough, like I said, just to do your job and play with a drummer who's a good drummer, much less to be like, you know what, man, I think we should play a little bit faster. And he's like, I don't want to play faster. Then it causes conflict. So this happens a lot, tons of bands, you name it. I'll get split up over this. But the endorphin release here, it says that moving in time with others, synchronized dancing or drumming triggers massive endorphin release. And this creates psychological phenomenon known as the self-other blurring, where individuals temporarily prioritize the group's survival over their own. And this is how we got here over human beings. And Paul Stamets has a great quote about this, about how we're all here from random acts of kindness, choosing somebody else over me. Like, go on without me. That kind of personality. And really, those are heroes that push forward and keep going, which is really cool. And we're also going to talk a little bit here in just a minute about how whenever you're in a crowd with people and you're all dancing and jumping to the crowd, you can feel everybody's heartbeat is in sync. There's a cool science behind this stuff. By listening to shared narratives and song floods the brain with oxytocin and lowering social anxiety, increasing in interpersonal trust among tribe members. If you think this isn't true, try going to a concert. Try going to a live concert. You'll be able to feel it. You'll be able to feel the connection with people that you don't even know and the tribalness and be like, you know, we're all here for one thing. And this is why people's religion is going to concerts. The Grateful Dead has a following like that. Tool has a following like that. Chris Cornell, he had a following like that for sure. He still to this day has a following like that. It's good stuff. It shows you how impactful it really is. Let's talk a little bit more about the Baldwin effect and genetic handwriting. Over thousands of years, our cultural reliance on music has begun to reshape our physical biology through the Baldwin effect. And groups that possess better genetic mutations for precise hearing, vocal control, and rhythmic coordination kept better time during rituals. These groups survived winters, wars, and famines more effectively due to superior social cohesion. It's crazy. You're like, how could something like music keep us alive in the winter? It's just the power of fucking rock and roll, baby. It's the power of music and what it really does to us. Like something about beating on a drum and like singing in chants together in a group. That's fucking really powerful. And it can be the thing that motivates people to survive a winter. It's fucking crazy. Famine or whatever, right? Whatever's going on. It's social cohesion. It's simple. You have to have a good life. You have to be physically fit. You have to be socially active, and you have to be mentally balanced. And that right there is a stable triangle. And without the social aspect of it, though, you're cutting yourself short. Um, I think that's all I have on that, but I do want to show you some stuff here about what I was speaking about people's hearts being in sync in concerts. Before we wrap this up, because we're going to wrap it up here in just a minute, we've been going for a while. Put a band in there that you want to see. Janis Joplin, or cover Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin's not necessarily the 90s, but, you know, it was in the 90s too, so we'll cover Janis Joplin. But I do definitely want to focus on, I have a list of bands, it's in the room in there, but it has all the upcoming bands that are going to be covered. Rage Against the Machine is on that list. Stone Temple Pilots is on that list. Alice in Chains, Nirvana. We're going to be covering a lot of the 90s bands because of what I'm, you know, to me, I love this music, so that's one of the reasons why I do it, because it's my fucking show. But that being said, it's really fucking impactful on our generation. A lot of people today either lived through it or were born during it or after it, right? It impacts them in some way, and there's a lot of poetry in this kind of shit. It created what rock and roll really was, what music really was. A lot of the bands that we know and love have been influenced by Nirvana for sure, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, all these bands. You're like, how did this band come from this? Well, this is the evolution. This is why we've been talking about this shit, the evolution of music, like where it comes from. I hope this is really sticking for you guys. If you like it, let me know. We'll keep doing this shit. But scientific studies have showed that whenever people watch a live musical performance together, their heartbeats and breathing patterns naturally synchronize, even if they don't even know each other. This phenomenon is known as the psychological synchronicity, and it demonstrates how live events physically and emotionally connect large groups of people. So we were just talking about the evolution of music, how it even makes us like it's in our bones, in our DNA, man, to love music. So I always say I always say this since I was a kid. Name somebody who doesn't like music. They might not like your music. They might like a really weird or unique niche kind of music, but everyone likes music. It's in our DNA to love it. But the science behind it is that studies such as one published by researchers at the University of Bern and reported in scientific reports have found that psychological responses like heart rate, breathing, and skin conductance, a measurement of excitement, like getting goosebumps and things like that whenever you feel the music. If you ever gotten that, if you haven't, you got to go see a live performance. That would really do it for you. But locked into a unified rhythm during a live performance, as I was just mentioning. Yeah, that's where you have to do it to really get it. Previous landmark research by the University College of London, the UCL, on West End theater goers found that pulse rates sped up and slowed down in unison across the entire audience. It shows the connectivity we have with human beings. It's fucking unique. Even if you don't like someone, even if you don't know them, you're still in synchronicity with them. It's fucking cool. The degree into which your heart sync depends on your personality, oddly enough. That's really cool. Open-minded individuals tend to sync up more easily, while those who focus heavily on the structural technicalities of the music may have slightly different results. Wow. Open-minded individuals tend to sync up more easily, while those focus heavily on structural technicalities of the music may have different results. It shows how you should just let go to the music. Psychedelics really can help. Smoke a fat joint and do a little bit of mushrooms or some LSD, and then just go and let go. Let the music flow through you for what it is. Don't try to control it or make it anything that it isn't. Don't try to like have your emotion or your past ruminations attached to, oh, I don't like this band. My dad used to listen to this. I don't like my dad, so I don't like rock and roll. It's like it's a narrow-minded perspective. We talked about this with Tool. Even if you don't like something, we can learn a lot from it. And we should force ourselves to look at things we don't like sometimes just to learn from it. If it's, as long as it's not hurting us, right, or anyone else, we can just look at it and be like, I don't like this thing. Like, why don't I like this? What part of me don't I like? Why don't, like, can I accept that I don't like it, or can I learn to love this thing, or whatever it is? It's fucking beauty of music, dude. Well, we have gone on long enough, man. I fucking rambled long enough. I appreciate y'all being here. It's been a great fucking episode. We're gonna get more into this shit. We're gonna talk about this again. And like I said, we've talked about how people's heartbeats sync up and shit. This is the first time we've ever read anything about it. It's unique to know that personality involves, how it works, how well it works, if it works. So we're gonna touch back on that. We have Saturday covered with doing. We're gonna talk about the music industry, all the ins and outs. It's gonna be a really fun and dramatic episode. If you will try to do drama, but if it doesn't really involve the bands, if it's something that happened to them, we're going to speak up and we're going to try to get some justification for their name. We're going to try to change the music industry and how it works. We're going to talk about how we can prevent things like this from happening in the future, and we're going to talk about the companies that are really helping people instead of trying to steal. But we will make time to talk more about the synchronicity of music. It's fucking cool to talk about the concepts of. I love this jam session where we just talk about fundamentals of music, dude. If you thought about being inspired, you write a poem. Even if you're not even trying to turn it into a song, or if you're trying to write music in a different way, think about it. Just try it. It doesn't have to be something fucking romantic. It could be something like that's just relates to you in whatever way. Try it out. You're never better for not knowing something, trying something new. It's kind of the Miyamoto Musashi way. It's to be a great fighter, you have to learn how to paint and cook and do all these different things. So, trying to focus on music or art or be inspired, you have to do so many different things to grab inspiration from. Yeah. Especially Chris Cornell. He's one of my favorite bands, man. And whenever they're writing their music, they weren't always at the top of the fucking world. And it's part of the reason why I haven't talked about his death, and it's not something I want to highlight on, but it's the reason why somebody can get to the top of the world and feel like it's not enough. Because, you come from nothing. You're like, I worked all the way from the top. And then when you get there, you're screwed over by the music industry and used and abused by everybody. Fucking puts a little bit of restraint in your life, for sure. But, yeah. Check the comments here real fast. We'll get out of here. Cheers, 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 cheers. Cheers. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining. Yeah. Drinking a lot of chocolate milk. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to have a glass right now. Fuck it. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you on the next episode. Actually, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be doing our 5 Agreement Friday, and we got an open day, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. I'll play something tomorrow for you guys. Something fun for us to talk about. Maybe we'll even touch a little bit on this shit to bring it to a lot more people. Maybe we'll force them to listen to it. Cheers, everyone. Y'all have a great night. Bye.